being a journalist, Baz. And we've offloaded from time to time on a couple of people that we didn't agree with that have got pretty personal. Our next guest, mate, without question, you can ask any sporting person in our state who their favourite journo is, and it's always Andrew Capel, mate.
Yep.
So we've been lucky to get him in, 40 plus years in the business, and hasn't got an enemy.
Oh, you got one?
Who's
No,
that?
I don't like him.
You don't like him? Andrew Capel, our special guest. AC, how are you?
Hi, gents, how are you? I can't be that good because last time I was here, I was sitting in between you guys, and now I've been relegated.
Baz was nervous you'd take his spot, so he said, just bump him away a little bit further. I don't want him taking over. Mate, I don't say that because you're in here to make you feel good. That is your reputation. Is that something that you've been able to pride yourself on over 40 plus years?
Absolutely. Look, obviously, I've never been hard. I've always written the tough stories when they need to be written, but I've always been very respectful of the individuals and the clubs that I've been writing about. And I've long worked on the theory that I'd rather be right than be first with something. I struggle with people these days who actually have to get it out there, even not knowing the full facts. So I'd like to be right. So. I'm very proud of that. I can look myself in the mirror and think I've done the right thing.
Just on the back of that, we see in the AFL at the moment with the Alistair Clarkson, Chris Fagan, John Burt, Hawthorn Footy Club, Indigenous. How do you see that? Because the story kind of broke and it wasn't actually as factual as it could have been. Some people are recused, some are not even mentioned. Just on the back of what you said, rather than break the story, I want to have all the story to give it a fair play.
Before you break it.
It certainly hasn't played out that way, has it?
Yeah, it's interesting. We don't know the full facts yet.
Still.
And that could take some time. So it's hard to comment because, the journo the journo may have been right.
Yeah.
So obviously the AFL's investigating, formed a committee to go through it. There's some legal ramifications with all this. Of course, Chris Fagan and Alistair Clarkson took immediate break from their coaching roles at Brisbane and obviously new at North Melbourne for Clarko, so the timing wasn't great. So that'll unfold over the next few months, but we may never know the full facts with it.
It's hard, isn't it, mate? Because sometimes the journos will get into a race to get it out first. Let's forget about...
Got to break the story.
Yeah, let's just get it out there before you know all the facts. That irks me a little bit that happens. Because I know there was a couple of journos involved in this one that you're talking about now.
And social media's made it more difficult without doubt.
Well, that's the problem too with social media now. Everyone is an expert.
Yeah.
The fan on the street can see something in a bar or anything, or say they know something, put it on social media, suddenly it grows legs. And that becomes a story as well. So it is more difficult in this current environment.
Has there been more pressure on you, AC, over the journey with that increase to break the story? Is there more pressure from News Corp? You've got to get this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Has that been difficult for you that wants all the facts before you get it out?
Well, not so long ago. You'd have, when Jeff Roach, you guys would know very well, was sports editor of the Advertiser, you would have a deadline for about 9 o'clock at night. So you'd obviously keep an eye on things. And if you knew something early in the day, you'd have to hold it because your only way of getting it out there was via the newspaper next morning. So you would hope that the news services wouldn't break something at 6 or 6:30. And as soon as that happened, you'd go, yes, it's ours, and it would be in the paper next morning as an exclusive. These days, if there's any breaking news, you've got to get it straight up online to beat everyone else. So the dynamics have changed completely.
Does that put more pressure on you, mate?
Definitely.
Yeah? A lot more pressure?
Absolutely.
And it would too, I suspect, because it's, you don't know what the guy down the road is going to do. He's going to pop up, isn't it?
Everyone's an expert now.
He's going to pop up on social media. I can remember, and I won't mention the club or that, but I can remember being told to go into a couple of pubs and drop a couple of rumours. Just drop them. Just say something that, it's not quite right, but it'll start something. And that happened quite a bit. That was before social media.
Just to start a story.
Just to start a story, yeah. Oh, and I'll go back to 1990. And I can remember being told about Port Adelaide. Their name is going to be the Pirates. Let's get that out there. It was never going to happen.
See what the reaction is.
But it just took away from what's
Something
really
else.
happening. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that sort of stuff happens a lot and can cause utter confusion, really.
Yeah. Hey, mate, the Aussie cricket team, I know you love your cricket, mate. You've got an outstanding couple of cricketers in the family. The Aussie cricket team missed out on the finals of the T20 and I don't know how you see it. I was a big Justin Langer fan. I liked what he did with the Aussie cricket team. He took them from here to number one at everything, and then all of a sudden it seemed, reading it again between the lines, what's factual, I haven't spoken to Justin about it, but you go, it looks like he got sacked because he was too demanding, that you had to work in this space, and that is how he was successful, and that's how we're going to be successful. He's gone, and most people, I think, kind of saw it that way, so you kind of take a step back. I don't know about the Aussie cricket team now. Then I watched the T20 and our crowds were poor. Growing up, and sorry, it's a long-winded question, mate, you could name everybody that was on the Aussie cricket team. I know there's 3 different formats now, but I go to the sport a lot to watch the stars. I'm not sure that the Aussie cricket team has the same love that it used to have going around. I don't know who we go to watch anymore. A couple of them instead of the whole team.
It's a fair point. Different formats too. You've got the one-day team, the test team, and the T20 team. Once upon a time, the same 14 or 15 would play.
Get to know.
You know, the main formats, obviously. So that's, and I agree with Justin Langer. I mean, Barry, you would know, he played at Port Adelaide for a couple of years at your cricket academy down here, and I was at Port at that time, like just a great work ethic. He got every ounce of ability out of his body. He was demanding as a coach, but the results when he was coach were first class.
And that was after Sandpaper Gate, wasn't it?
Correct.
So, you know, it wasn't an easy time to take over.
Absolutely. He turned the team around. Player power has gone too far. I mean, it's like if you work in a workplace, you've got to respect your boss and still do the right thing. There, it should be the same with sport. We saw the player power, obviously, with the sponsorship, with Pat Cummins, the captain. This happened in netball, of course, as well. So I respect the player's individual right to have their theories on life, and if they don't want to support a sponsor privately, that's fine. As a group sponsor, I'm not so sure that's the right thing to do. And the player power certainly pushed Justin Langer out because he was considered, made him work too hard, wasn't such a great fun person to be around because he was so demanding. And we all know Justin, very intense character, but he gets results. And it's a player's role, I would have thought, to work within those parameters and be the best version of himself. To have him lose his role under those circumstances didn't sit well with the public. Results have gone poor. You speak about individuals. There was a few, Australia only lost the one game, in fairness, in the T20 World Cup. They were smashed by New Zealand, which killed their run rate, but they weren't impressive the whole way through. No. That last game against Afghanistan, they win by 4 runs. Rashid Khan, the Adelaide favourite, nearly won it for his country. So they probably didn't deserve to play finals. You love watching Glenn Maxwell and these guys in action, but Aaron Finch, obviously towards the end of his career, other players didn't fire. So you're right, there wasn't that real excitement among the fans.
Mate. The whole team lacked emotion. If you watch the other teams play in this World Cup, when they took a wicket, it was like they just won lotto. Yeah. No matter what, whether it was number 8, number 9, number 10, everybody jumping around, high-fiving, jumping up, exciting. Where the Aussies were completely the opposite. They get a wicket and they go up, beauty and back. There was no emotion, and I noticed that, and I'm sure that the people noticed it as well. Our supporters, the Australian supporters, would have noticed that. It didn't look like we were interested. And that's not an Australian cricket team to me. I think they made a lot of errors, and I'm not a coach slammer, but gee whiz, our preparation for this T20 was diabolical. It was absolutely diabolical by playing a bloke like Cameron Green as an opener when he's not even in the squad. Now, and then the captain says, we're fatigued. Before the tournament starts. Come on, you know. They played, I think Pakistan was the only other team that played more games maybe than us in a lead-up. Yep. But in our lead-up, we had Cameron Green opening batting. He was never going to play in the World Cup. What sort of preparation is that? I don't think that would have happened under Langer, is what I'm trying to say.
It's good, it's good that he's not emotive about it, isn't it?
It's very, but what he said is actually quite correct too.
You're right. It wouldn't have happened under Langer. Langer would have used those lead-up games to play his best side, keep them together, and go into that World Cup with your best 12, bang. Forget all the other blokes. If you're not in the squad, you're not in the squad.
Even that game against Afghanistan, they left Mitchell Stark out.
That was my other point. That was my other coaching decision. Blunder. Well, now, if anybody's going to run through, we needed to run through Afghanistan. We needed to beat them by plenty.
Yep.
Who's the best death bowler in the world? Correct. Mitch Stark. And they leave him out. I could not believe that.
The bizarre thing is, you talk about a lack of emotion. We're playing on a home soil.
Exactly.
So surely that emotion should be at a high level.
And we're defending.
They never looked like they really got going, did they?
No, they didn't get going at all. And really, I blame the preparation. I blame the entire preparation for it because our players are... Australia should be in the final of any cricket tournament going on, and we didn't look like getting there. At any stage during the tournament did I feel confident that we would get into the final.
Yeah.
So there's a problem there.
Yep, fair point.
Hey, mate, just quickly moving on. Has there ever been a time that you've written an article afterwards and gone, wish I hadn't have written that one?
Possibly a while back, but might have got a couple of things wrong, but nothing that really sticks out, to be honest. I like to think, I'm not pumping my tyres up, but I like to think I'm pretty thorough.
Yeah,
And
I think it's pretty fair.
I wouldn't write anything unless I believed it deserved to be written and was actually correct.
Yeah.
Occasionally get things wrong, obviously, like everyone else does, with misinformation, but you try to tick as many boxes as you can.
It's a pretty fair journey over 40 years, mate, not to
big
that
deal,
space, because most of the journalists are averaging one a week. So, mate, see a lot of blokes, a lot of journalists get involved with books, mate. You know, they have so Body Nodge, for example, did the Paddy Mills book. I know he did one of himself, but the Paddy Mills book, is there going to be an AC book, mate? Is there one where, or if there's not, is there one that you wouldn't mind doing?
Well, I actually was heavily involved in the SACA history book, which was released last year, 150 Years of SACA, with Peter Cornwall, who was the editor. So I wrote a lot of yarns for that, fabulous coffee table book. And there's one coming out on the Glenelg Football Club, the centenary, which was a year or so ago. But the book is being published as we speak and should be available to be purchased in the middle of December. It's a fantastic history book of the Glenelg Footy Club and all the. It's not a chronological book. It's the great characters. Well, they've only won 5 premierships in their history, but they've produced some great teams, as you guys know, and some of the greatest players in SANFL history. So it's going to be a fabulous book if you're a Glenelg supporter or just a lover of sports history of the SANFL. It's a must-have. So that's going to hit the streets this year. I think I wrote 32 part stories for that. Peter Cornwall did the majority, but that's worth hanging out for as well. I haven't had time with my working life, 3 kids, whatnot, to spend time on my own book, but it's been great to contribute to these books.
All right, just in closing, mate, if you did get time, who would you pick? Who would you like to do a book on?
I mean, I actually can't answer that. Do you know why? Because I haven't thought about it. Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
All right, we'll wait for the book out from Andrew Capel. It will be a ripper. You need to get that Glenelg footy book because that will be an absolute pearler. I can see you on your coffee table with that one, Baz. No doubt be number one on your shopping list.
We've taken all the references of Port Adelaide out, apart from the 2019 grand final. I finally saw Glenelg beat Port in the grand final. Of course, their first flag was against Port.
1934.
Back in 1934.
And I reckon that was a dodgy one.
Well, you weren't born then, were you?
But that was a dodgy one.
No, that was fair legitimate.
1934, there was a couple of players there who played in that grand final who took off straight after the game, never seen again.
Yeah, but how about all
Why is that?
How about the 1977 grand final, the 1990 grand final, 1988 grand final when Port Adelaide were given some very good decisions by the umpires in the grand final against Glenelg.
Get this man off the show.
We need to get to a break before you two blokes start dropping hand grenades everywhere. Stay with us. Still, a lot more to come.